Good morning, Chair City Church. So good to see you. So good to hear you. It's a big deal. Last week, this week, bookends of 4th of July week, and here we are seeing so many people with so much enthusiasm. Praise God. Thank you so much for being Chair City Church. Yesterday, I turned 59 years old. Crazy, right? Next year, I don't know if this happens in your life, but in my life, I'm going to turn 60, and it'll happen on a Sunday morning. I realize I'll turn 60 with you next year on Sunday morning. So somebody asked me, "Oh, you're going to take the Sunday off?" I'm like, "No way, man! I am going to preach on that Sunday." I am looking forward to not turning 60, but I'm looking forward to preaching when I turn 60. That's going to be a fun morning. Mark your calendars; don't miss that morning. So to celebrate my birthday yesterday, Christy and the kids took me to Block Island. I've been wanting to go there for years, a long time. And, I like to be around ports and islands because I can see sailboats, the ocean, but I like sailboats. I'm a big fan of them. And I hope one day to learn. Still, none of my kids or wife will go with me. They're saying they're protesting that. I will not get on a sailboat with you. One child I'm trying to convince to go with me to take the lessons. I'm halfway there. They're the most cooperative child of all, Jason. But I'm like, hey, come on. I mean, look. I'm like, look. You go there and they train you, they teach you, and you practice. You practice a lot. So, and then you can see if I'm doing it right, if I'm paying attention, if I'm doing what they tell me to do. And that's good. But the reality in life, though, is there is no practice, right? We don't get to practice life. There are no dress rehearsals, correct? It just seems to come on us. And when I look back, as each year my birthday kind of calls me to do, especially as I get older, I realize so much of life is kind of lived in what I call the default mode, or you might call it autopilot, right? Where, it's not that you get to practice, but it's what you've been practicing that determines that default mode, that determines that autopilot. Like, have you ever arrived somewhere in your car or maybe walked and you don't remember how you got there? You got there, right? That's because you had certain practice, certain ways, certain habits. That's that default mode that just clicked in and it brought you there. Now, one of the ways that we can thrive as followers of Christ in the midst of the tension of our culture and the challenges of life and the changing of seasons and still thrive in our faith is to put our lives or to see our lives sort of in a default mode with the things of God, the ways of God. So, there's not this great digging down moment to moment, day to day struggle to line up with where God is and what He has for us and what He calls us to, right? It's sort of a default mode, right? Now, and we do this by developing and maintaining ways in our lives that honor God. Honor, meaning we hold God high. When we say honor, we're talking about holding high, esteeming, valuing God, holding God high, esteeming God, meaning it's a default mode. It's our autopilot. It's the tint of our lens. We cannot think, we cannot do anything in life without seeing through, practicing an honor of God. And again, it's a default mode because sometimes things come at us so fast, things change. We're called to this, we're tempted to do this. We have an opportunity to do that if this is not our default mode, we just might find ourselves somewhere and thinking, how did I get here? But it's not going to be where we would have wanted to, right? Today we're going to jump into the Old Testament, one sermon, standalone sermon, before we jump into God at the box office next week. As I'm sure they've been telling you, invite your friends, invite your family. We have a blast, we have a good time. And we're going to look into the book of Daniel today. We're going to jump into chapter 6. We're looking into an event that took place in the life of the prophet Daniel, about 607 BC. Daniel is among the captives that taken in 607 BC. Daniel was among the captives, the Jewish people that were taken from Jerusalem and brought over to Babylon. And in the first 5 chapters of the book of Daniel, we see, the Jews are living in Babylon and they're under Babylonian captivity. And the kings there are Nebuchadnezzar and Belshazzar. And under that, Daniel becomes like a chief minister in King Nebuchadnezzar's court. He rises up. Pretty much from a child, Daniel has been living in Babylon. It's what he knows. He was raised there and living out his faith. Now he rises to this great position. Daniel was known as a man who could interpret dreams and visions. And so we're going to jump. But then at some point, about probably 2/3 through Daniel's life, maybe a little more, the Persians conquer Babylon. And that's where we're going to jump in right now in Daniel chapter 6, verses 1 through 2. It says, it pleased Darius, he's the Persian king now of that area where Daniel is. It says, it pleased Darius to appoint 120 satraps to rule the kingdom, with 3 administrators over them. One of those administrators was Daniel. The satraps were made accountable to them so that the king might not suffer loss. And so what we see here in chapter 6, kicking it off, that there is a new king in town. He's Persian. His name is Darius. And this new king is putting things in place, getting some order. He's got 120 sort of satraps, or you could say it another way, 120 kind of administrators and 3 governors over the 120. Daniel is one of the governors. And at this time in his life, Daniel is about 70 to 80 years of age. And King Darius did not want to see loss in the kingdom. And what we see here is King Darius setting up his kingdom for accountability. It shows us the need for accountability. We want people who could be in our lives, who could be around us, who will tell us heads up, or you need to be careful the way you're going, or might just ask us a question that we know it's a probing question, or it's a questioning question, right? You know the difference. It's one of the functions of a community, of a church community, that we can be around each other enough, intersect enough to feel comfortable saying and hearing those questions, right? So, and you have that here. It is an opportunity, a very valuable one in this day and age, to be in a community where people can perhaps ask a question, or perhaps speak something into your life, or share with you something they've gone through, that when all is said and done, it's going to bring that needed accountability. It's a necessity in your life to have accountability. If I'm sitting with somebody who has significant emotional issues, significant mental issues, I want to be careful here, but it's reality. You'll also notice as you track through their life with all the pain, suffering, chaos, there's a lack of accountability. I'll ask the question. It's a lack of accountability, a lack of people who cared, who knew, experienced wisdom that could speak into their life, ask that question, share something, right? You see, the more isolated you are, the less accountable you are. Did you hear that? The more isolated you are, the less accountable you are. The less you join people, come together with people, and are comfortable with people looking, seeing, watching, speaking in your life, the less accountable you are. Which means you're going to have less emotional health, less spiritual health, yeah? And so that's why we're often doing what? Bringing you together. We're bringing you together for anything from, Easter egg hunts to chilling grills. I mean, this is significant. I mean, you know what? Really, do you have any idea what Christian and I look like on a Sunday? It's somewhere around like 3:30 to 4 o'clock, 4:30, after like 88 people have left our house. And we do this to take advantage of you. We do this to manipulate you. We do this because we love God, we love our church, and we deeply believe that we've got to bring this together continually to see this accountability take place. And this summer is not the time to start practicing a lack of accountability, because then her and I will be picking up the stinking pieces in September and October. There's probably a better way, a nicer way to saying that. But as much as trying to do what we could to protect years from coming into the fall, fragmented, disconnected, drained, is true. We really know this is a way to honor God and for you to grow spiritually, by coming together. So in the summer, as I said, and I've been saying, we don't slow down. We keep wanting to bring us together, and we have skin in the game, as I've explained. And so now we call you together again with the Greater Housing Authority event. And this is something we're doing for the first time with an agency in our city. It's a new relationship that's super cool. It's a meaningful one we think we could build, a way for people who have different gifts and skills to get involved. And we've started out with we've been waiting for the right project. Here it is, to paint, to kind of sand, to paint, to prepare, lay down tarps. And we're calling you to sign up. What are we doing? We're calling you to come together. We're inviting you into accountability. That's what we're doing. It's when we say, come to our house for hot dogs and hamburgers, there are no questions, right? Just come to eat. But we say, hey, come on, come join us for the Greater Housing Authority. Hey, I'll go serve on a Sunday if your children are in preschool, nursery, kids' church, especially nursery and preschool. Come on, jump in and support the people who've been doing that all year. What are you hearing? We're calling you to a greater way of being emotionally. We're calling you to relationship and accountability, so people could be able to speak into your life one day when you really need it. And like really, really need it. That's what we're doing here. And I'm going to tell you, it is an opportunity. And, when I would see this, and Christy know this, we have an opportunity to serve those who are less fortunate than us for a couple of hours. Think about it, for a couple of hours. That's what we do. For a couple of hours, to come alongside others of the faith community and be out there and shine your light. When my kids were younger, and still to this day we do it, obviously it was more consistent when we were younger, but this would be like a highlight of the week. I'd see this, I'd be all over it. Like, wow, 2 hours where I'd schedule my whole morning around those 2 hours. It's okay, let's make some pancakes, listen to some songs, share, then we'll go together and we'll serve. And then after that, maybe we'll hit the bike path. But why would I do that? Because I wanted to show my children what my faith looks like when practiced. I loved watching my children when they showed up and older people would come up to them and say nice things to them and pat them on the head and encourage them and say, wow, how cool it is that you're here. Yeah. You hear all this stuff about talking about esteem, and self-esteem, and you could be great, and you could do great, and watch it. But children aren't given the opportunities to really do something outside themselves, especially Christian children. Let's just call it out here. My birthday was yesterday. I got a little bit of margin here. I wanted my children not to just be liabilities. What's a liability? I exist as your father. Your mother exists as your mother to give to you, to give to you, to give to you, and to do for you. That's why we exist. And you take, and you take, and you take, and you take. I'm nice, you're nice, we're good people trying to do the best we can to navigate this life, and this is somehow where we've defaulted to. This is our practice. I give you, I serve you, I do for you. And in a sense, they're a liability. That's why we're so glad when they leave our homes. Yeah. But we wanted our children to be assets, to be felt like they were needed, like they were valuable. We also wanted them to turn around and live out their faith, and they see it lived out. Not that they hear about it, they see it. And they see it in us, and they get to practice it. And what an opportunity to come alongside for a couple of hours other people in their faith community from all different ages and all different genders and do something meaningful. Wow. There's just no way I would miss that. That to me was just as and often more important than anything else that was going on. And I'm not trying to coerce you here. Listen, I know when I say this, 95% of you or more are not going to listen to me. I do know that. When I teach you passionately about generosity, 95% of you are not going to listen to me. But there's that one or two that will. When I talked about giving several months ago and tithing, I know 99% aren't going to listen to me. But one or two did. And their lives are forever changed. I mean, like, and if we practice things a different way, I drag them up here, but I don't want you to look at them. I want you to trust in God. But I kid you not, before God, with all that I am, in here today are two people who did that. And their lives were forever changed. Like, whoa, why? Because of money? No, because they got to trust God. So that's what this is about, trusting God, being available. Instead of looking things through, instead of your default mode, your autopilot, going the other way. So, because that wasn't my opening, and I'm all over the place. 9:41. All right, we are going to fly. But listen, we are in a commitment phobia culture. We are, right? We're terrified of commitment. By the way, that's a sign of anxiety, right? It's a sign of worry. That's how we're seeing the world. This is an indicator. I don't commit to a lot of things. I struggle to commit to things. I struggle to stay because we're worried. Or maybe the flavor of the day is I'm not going to commit to serving or to being there because it might be a really nice day outside. Who knows? We only get so many good days in New England, right? Yeah, you're right. It might be a sunny day outside. I hope so. We have to paint. It might be a sunny day outside when you decide to jump into kids' church and respond to the letter that I'm sending you to support the people who have showed up for 52 weeks a year to care for children in nursery and preschool, right? We want a healthy culture, man, don't we? We want a healthy. This is Cherry City Church. We are a healthy culture. We are not playing church, my friends. We will have a healthy church culture, and there's no way that as a pastor I'm going to have a culture where people will come and serve for 52 weeks a year, and someone will not come alongside them for 1 week a year and help them. We can't have that, right? And I'm so glad for the response and the way people are coming alongside to realize that. But that's what we're doing. We're creating healthy culture, yes? That's what we want. We're valuing each other, yes? Because we want a healthy community and a healthy culture to be there for us, for our children, when stuff hits, yes? All right, I am all over the place. But listen, yeah, it might be a sunny day outside. Yeah? But what good is it if it's a cloudy day inside? Yes? What good is it? Come on, we've been there. What good is it when the sun is shining, it's a beautiful day, but you don't feel well inside? Are you with me? What good is it if you're sitting there looking out over the ocean and the beach, but you don't feel well inside? A few weeks ago, I told you, sitting out at the ocean looking across, I felt horrible inside because of what was going on in me. Yesterday, I felt awesome inside. It's what's going on inside that really determines the temperature and what's happening in our lives, yes? All right, I will get there. Daniel chapter 6, verse 3. There's some laughter, there's some quietness in here. Did I tell you yesterday was my birthday? Christy said, I said, I'm going to keep it short today. I'm going to keep it short. She goes, I don't know. She goes, I'm just sensing you're not, but I am. Okay, hang in there. I'm failing. I am. Adam's right. I'm failing. So it says, now Daniel so distinguished himself among the administrators and the satraps by his exceptional qualities that the king planned to set him over the whole kingdom. So the king is making plans for Daniel to govern the kingdom for him. Like the top of all the administrators. This is an incredible story of a person who honors God and is used in a powerful way. King Darius doesn't believe in Daniel's God or our God, yet he entrusts Daniel to rule his kingdom, to govern his kingdom. What this tells us as followers of Christ is you should expect good things when living in a way that honors God. Yes? Daniel is living out his life with a great faith in God, and it has brought him favor and blessings. Doesn't mean there's no problems. We will get to that. Each day, you can expect to experience blessings and favor. Some large, some aggregate. They're building up to add up for that one incredible moment. But this comes as a result from living out our lives honoring. Remember, honoring, holding high, esteeming, valuing God. So Daniel, because of his exceptional qualities, as the scripture says, And these qualities are a direct result of his godly ways and practices and habits day to day. He's now being elevated to the highest position in the kingdom above all others. And by the way, he's a foreigner. He's not Persian. He's not Babylonian. He's a Jew. But he's a believer and a worshiper of the one true God. Daniel chapter 6, verse 4. At this time, the administrators and satraps tried to find grounds for charges against Daniel in his conduct of government affairs. People were getting jealous. They didn't like it. It says, but they were unable to do so. They could find no corruption in him because he was trustworthy and neither corrupt nor negligent. Nor negligent. Daniel did not put aside, did not wane from, did not stop doing what he believed and what got him there. His godly practices, his honoring of God in all areas of his life. So, right here now, you see problems are creeping on the scene. And what we see here, people are getting jealous. They're beginning to get restless. They're unhappy with what's going on. And what we see here in Daniel's stories is if you have a life that honors God, you're going to get some opposition. You're going to get some pushback from others, from circumstances, from your enemy. We live in a broken world. A life that honors God is not always applauded. It's not always championed. As you live out your life day to day, expect some opposition as a result of your honoring God in all areas of your life. Expect some opposition, some pushback as a result of you trusting in God in all areas of your life. I was going to blow through that one here. Right, listen. Jesus said, in this world you will have troubles, but take heart, I have overcome the world. In this world there is problems, yes? Yeah. But in Jesus there is peace. There is peace. This is the radical truth. Daniel chapter 6, verse 5. Finally, these men said, the ones that were jealous of Daniel, we will never find any basis for charges against this man, Daniel, unless it has something to do with the law of his God. Wow. How good would it be if people saw us this way? If people in our lives saw us this way every day, and every day includes this summer of 2024, let people see us in this way, that people would observe us as we live out our lives this summer, right? They would observe exceptional qualities amongst us. They would observe a life lived in a manner that values God, that values doing what is good and right before God in every area of our life, yes? When people observe your life in the coming days and weeks, may they see you being faithful to your God. May your children see you being faithful to your God in all areas of your life. We would live out the way we lived, make decisions we made day to day so our children would see us living out our faith in every area of our lives. I mean, after all, we are asking them to believe in something and someone they can't see. So let us live it out large for them in every area of our lives. Praying, giving, serving, forgiving others, going out and doing for others. We want them to see the firsthand results of that, because what are we doing? You will rarely see a child remain in the faith if by the time they hit 18 to 20, they are not serving, they are not giving, they are not spending a lot of time with other believers. You will rarely see it. And if they do, it really often is a matter of time. Hence, maybe they fall away and come back. That happens not like it used to. I'm all over the place here this morning. But it's true. What I give you before is true. So we don't do this today because we have to. If we don't, God is going to kick us in the butt or slap us on the hand. Or we'll feel guilty. No. We're inspired because we have an opportunity to now, because I don't know about you, but we struggle to be parents. Like, we were all over the place. Like, how are we going to do this and read a book, watch a movie, do this? Like, oh my God, is there anything harder? There is not. So to have a way that is inspired by the one true God, because all of this is inspired by the God that I say and that I serve. And to see now, to look at Christian history from thousands of years ago, hundreds of years ago, to just recently and say, wow, this works. People who live out this way, their faith grew stronger. Their lives were set in better trajectories. That was comforting to us. Like, okay, we don't just have to fly by the seat of our pants. We don't have to be so insecure, tossed to and fro by circumstances with these kids. We have a plan, we have a way, we have a system, we have a structure, we have practices and disciplines and habits that we can help guide them in this way. And we're going to live them out before them. And then as God brings to us, see incredible examples of him showing up, because God shows up, that'll teach them what we never could have. I am all over the place. God. Oh my God. Okay. I've got to find. Thank you for riding the wave. Listen, look. Basically, listen. Look, I want you to know, look. Let's be real. When I talk about these exceptional qualities, you know, there's a gap. There's a gap for Dave Trelongo, right? You know, I'm aware of this between, you know, sometimes where I am and what God is calling me to be, how God is worthy of being honored in all areas of my life. It's from time to time, there's a little bit of inconsistency. As I said in the hub, you know, there might have been some inconsistency, but I really, really, really am so convicted. I hold true to never just abandoning anything. Like, okay, here's an area of my life. You're going to see God living large in some of it. Sometimes there's inconsistencies. But nonetheless, I've learned that there is a gap between what I am and what God is calling me to be, yes? And today, I just encourage you, just turn to God and say, God, today, this day, do a work in me and help me fill that gap. Help me begin to fill that gap. Man, you know, you might just close it, probably not, but you can begin to fill it, yes? Father God, change me, transform me, bring you closer to you. My friends, we are all in the process, yes? We call that sanctification. We are in the process. God is not finished with any one of us yet, no? He's doing a great work in you. That's why you're here this morning, because God has begun a great work in you, and he desires and will complete that great work in you, yes? All right, so the guys are jealous of Daniel. They got to undermine him. So it says in verse 6, so these administrators and satraps went as a group to the king and said, may King Darius live forever. The royal administrators, prefects, satraps, advisors, and governors have all agreed that the king should issue an edict and enforce a decree that anyone who prays to any god or human being during the next 30 days, except to you, O king, that anybody prays to anything or anyone except to you, king, shall be thrown into the lion's den. Now, your majesty issued a decree and put it in writing so that it cannot be altered in accordance with the law of the Medes and the Persians, which cannot be repealed. Unlike the Babylonians, king is king, they practiced a different way. If there's a rule, the king sets it, it cannot be changed. Now, let's jump to verse 10. It says, now when Daniel learned that the decree had been published, he went home to his upstairs room. Daniel hears that this is what's going on. He's like, it's coming down. It's coming down. Says he went home to his upstairs room where the windows were open towards Jerusalem, where his ancestors worshiped God, where the temple used to be. And it says 3 times a day he got down on his knees and prayed, giving thanks to his God just as he has done before. Just as he had done before. If we expect opposition and pushback in our lives because of our faith, then we want to practice ways and habits that'll enable us to honor God. Before this dubious law was put into place, Daniel would pray 3 times a day. It was his routine, his rhythm of life. It was his way every day to spend time with God. Yours might look different. But either way, this was Daniel having a relationship with God. Again, when we practice God, when we practice honoring God in all areas of our life, it builds a relationship with him. And this relationship is not mechanical. For Daniel, this relationship with God has brought loving kindness into Daniel's life. When things come down, Daniel knows where to go. He goes to comfort. He goes to refuge. He goes to kindness. He goes to love. People around him are jealous of him. They're coming against him. They're slandering him. They're undermining him. What does he do? He now goes and he does what they do, and he starts trying to put a plan too. How do I get out of this? How do I get away from this? What am I going to do? He goes to the one he's honored. It's a default. It's just default. It's automatic pilot. That's where Daniel goes when it's coming down. Where do we go when it comes down? What's our default? What's our automatic pilot? Well, it depends. What are you practicing? How are you honoring God in your life? What are your habits? Because that's what's going to dictate your autopilot. Listen, when circumstances change, when the seasons of life change, Daniel did what he always had done. Because he knew more important than even being alive was the loving kindness of his God. Look, the summer has started. It has. Cool, I'm glad. What direction is the summer taking you? Or what direction are you taking it? I will intentionally set out, and I've already begun, I'm a little behind, to get a hold of this summer and begin to take it in a direction where my spirituality will grow, not be depleted. When I say and I talk about going into the fall and people struggling, seasonal depression, all that, it's serious. But I tell you what I've observed, especially for believers, that we go into the summer and we begin to see these areas of our lives. We don't honor God as much. We lessen measurably and sometimes disconnect from them. And then what happens? What's going to happen? You're going to deteriorate spiritually. Your autopilot and default mode is going to be altered. And then we come into September and people are hurting. They call it seasonal depression. I'm not going to go there right now. I'm not going to say there's no legitimacy to it. What I'm going to say is what it means is, and this can happen even outside of Christianity, but life. They come in September and man, they are overspent, distracted. They put resources here instead of here. They've neglected this. It's too much. And now they've got to find a way to build themselves back up. And I've told you, it's an ugly cycle. It's an ugly cycle, year to year to year to year. But not this year, right? This year, you are setting the default mode. This year, you are going to honor God with all your practice. This is going to be the summer where you said, you know what? That's the summer where I elevated all my practices that I would honor God. That was the summer. That was the summer of me loving God. You people in your 70s will get that a little bit. That's the summer where I loved God and I felt his loving kindness. Yes? All right. Daniel went home to pray with God. Daniel says, man, I'm 80 years old. I'm 80 years old, and I've learned if I show up, God will show up. Yes? Listen, think about it right now. Write it down. Type it out. A few areas of your life that you could practice honoring God right now through this summer. Refuse not to show up this summer. Refuse not to honor God in your life. Refuse to set a default mode this summer that will keep going for the rest of your life. Yes? All right. Now, it says at verse 11, these men went as a group and found Daniel praying and asking God for help. They begged him. So they went to the king and spoke to him about his royal decree. Did you not publish a decree that during the next 30 days, anyone who prays to God or any human being except you, your majesty, will be thrown into the lion's den? The king answered, the decree stands in accordance with the law of the Medes and the Persians, which cannot be altered. Then they said to the king, surprise, surprise, surprise. Daniel, who is one of the exiles from Judah, pays no attention to you, your majesty, or to the decree you put in writing. He still prays 3 times a day. Wow. Daniel goes to pray. These guys are waiting for him. Because they know, they've watched Daniel, and they've watched him honor God in his life. And they're confident Daniel will show up. And he does. And just like that, they're like bag, snag, bad boys, what you going to do when they come for you? Daniel chapter 6, verse 14 through 17, when the king heard this, he was greatly distressed. He was determined to rescue Daniel and made every effort until sundown to save him. Then the men went up as a group to King Darius and said, remember your majesty, the accordance to the law of the Medes and the Persians, no decree or edict that the king issues can be changed. So the king gave the order, and they brought Daniel and threw him into the lion's den. And the king said to Daniel, may your God, whom you serve, continually rescue you. We should expect opposition in our lives when we honor God in all areas of our lives. That we should also expect it to be the beginning of our story, the beginning of our miracle, yes? The beginning of God doing something great. It says a stone was brought and placed over the mouth of the den, and the king sealed it with his own signet ring and with the rings of his nobles, so that Daniel's situation might not be changed. So Daniel's caught, brought before the king, The king now is realizing that he's been duped, that these guys fooled him, but he can't change the law. He's trying to figure a way out. But Daniel's not trying to figure a way out. Daniel's in his default mode. He's on autopilot, right? Daniel chapter 6, verse 18. Then the king returned to his palace and spent the night without eating, without any entertainment being brought to him. And he could not sleep. At the first light of dawn, the king got up and hurried to the lion's den. When he came near the den, he called to Daniel in an anguished voice, Daniel, servant of the living God, has your God, who you have been continually serving, been able to rescue from the lions? And you get that continually serving, continually praying, meaning that was his default mode. That is what he practiced. Have you been rescued from the lions? Daniel chapter 6, verse 21 through 22. Daniel answered, may the king live forever. Hey, Darius, I'm here. My God sent his angel, and he shut the mouths of the lions. They have not hurt me, because I was found innocent in his sight, nor have I done anything ever wrong to you before you, Majesty. The king was overjoyed and gave the orders to lift Daniel out of the den. And when Daniel was lifted from the den, there was no wound found on him, because he had trusted in his God. There's going to be oppositions. There's going to be pushbacks as we practice honoring God in our lives. But we can trust that he will deliver us in every area of our life. God will deliver you. God will glorify himself in you when you do this. Listen, let's just get to it. Come on. Many of us, the reason we don't honor God, the reason why we don't show up in this area of our relationship with God or that area, and instead give ourselves to circumstances, right? Daniel wouldn't give himself to the circumstances. He wouldn't do it. He wasn't going to copy what these guys did. When these guys saw Daniel getting promoted, they whacked out, got anxious, got worried, started planning. Daniel was like, yeah, so I could respond to them, put a God label on it, praise Jesus. But I'm going to do what they did. I'm going to come up with a plan too. No. Daniel said, I ain't buying into that junk. No way. I'm going to practice. I'm going to go back to what I've been practicing, and that's honoring God right now. I'm not looking for a way out of this right now. I'm going to God first, yes? Because he is the God who delivers. And God delivered Daniel, yes? Listen, today, will you trust God to deliver you? Will you trust God as you begin to think about, if I honor God in this area of my life with my time, to volunteer, to serve a little bit here. If I give this area of my life to God, like the depth of my anger, I've been walking around with so much anger, and I struggle so much, I'm depressed. If you're walking around depressed, you probably have this underlying anger. Do you know that? Like, count numerous times a year in a close, meaningful, deep, real, heartfelt conversation, I'll see that. And I'll tell somebody, man, you're depressed. I think you're angry. And as we talk about their lives, it'll show they have reason to be angry. But they don't realize that anger is an underlying way. Like there's an flooring to this, what I'm walking on. And it comes, it's draining, and it comes up into depression. Man, I'm all over the place today. But what you want to know is, as you trust God with your life, he begins to take this stuff from you with your time, with your emotions, yes, with your finances, absolutely, with your future. You begin to say, God, you know what? And yeah, you're going to begin to picture all the things that you would be without, that would change, that you can't protect yourself. You can, yeah, okay, and some of that is valid, but probably incomplete. Some of it is your enemy, because that's the default mode. The default mode is to listen to the enemy. Who lies, who deceives, who exaggerates. That's where we go. But God says, listen, when you begin to think that way, I'm going to deliver you. I am going to deliver you out of the mouth of the lion, man. Whatever it is that you're imagining that will come against you, that will push back, that will be difficult, because you honored me, I will deliver you from that. Let it come right up on you. Let it breathe in your face, because I am a God who delivers. I've been doing it for thousands of years, and I will do it for you. Because I love you. I delight in you. You're the first fruits of all my creation. I love you, yes? Let us trust God. Okay, come up. I'll keep talking. Listen, it's an obstacle for many of us. out there online in here, if you came in today and you don't have faith in God, meaning you hadn't when you came in, you've never said yes to believe and trust in Jesus. Just so you, and what? The obstacle has been, if I do this, what difficulty will come my way? What challenges will come my way? What will I lose? And God says, come. Jesus calls you to him. I will deliver you. I will deliver you. I am a God who delivers. I am a God who rescues. Today, trust in Jesus. Trust in Jesus to deliver you from your circumstances, from being a person who lives under circumstances, not above them. Yes? Jesus, the one who gave his life for you, died on the cross for you, to save the world, and you are part of this world. He is the one and only Savior. Today, he calls you to follow him. He calls you to trust in him. He calls you to know the loving kindness of his Father and your Father in heaven. Today, will you say yes to Jesus? Man, if that's you today, we are just really excited for this. We are so glad for this. What a way to kick off your summer by coming to Jesus. What a way to set things off in the right direction. Here's how you could let us know this has happened, and it means so much to us that you would do this. When you came in today, you were handed a connection card. On one side, it says, My Next Step. Right underneath that, there's an area where you could let us know, I've began a relationship with Jesus. Take that card to the guest services table, and they will hand you a gift package. Now, we can do this digitally. You can do this digitally. If I could sit down next to you and do it with you, I would. Online, in here, online, you can text one word, Chair City, to 97000, and then in here in front of you, there's a small QR code. You can scan that QR code with your phone, and online in here, you're going to see that digital connection card pop up. Scroll down. Let us know that you've begun a new relationship with Jesus. And in a few days, you'll be getting the same gift package they got here in the lobby, and we will be praying with you. We pray for you, and we'll be celebrating with you. Let's close this out. Thank you for hanging in there this morning. I did want to finish about 10 minutes earlier. You've been very kind and encouraging. When you look at Daniel's story, what you see is what I've mentioned, is when it all came down on him, he didn't try and find a way out. I didn't say he liked it. I didn't say he didn't, want things to change. I'm saying he didn't try and find a way out. He stayed the course, which was the default, which enabled his godly practices and habits to come into play. Yesterday, when I'm sitting there in Rhode Island, in Block Island, it causes me to reflect, looking out at the ocean. Man, I'm 59 years old. It's crazy. What the heck? I was talking to my mom last night. She was the last person to call me. It was a wonderful conversation we had. She told me, she goes, you were born like 12:01 on July 6th. Just me and you in a room. That's how it was back then. 15 years old, man. Praise God. How did so much come from that? And I'm thinking about how much I've been through, how much Christian I have been through. Even the last 9 years have been off the charts. And I think that through it all, where we are is just a result of an intimate, life-giving relationship with first God, then ourselves, and then our children. But it really goes in that order. But really, most of all, God. And when I look back, I remember, we've made a few major decisions that seem to point us in the right direction. But I don't think that's really what did it. I'm positive. What got us staying in the right direction, what got us building, what put some wind in our sails, was the smaller decisions we made day to day and week to week. These decisions that would put our faith into practice, that would honor God in all areas of our life. That's what has kept us going. And it all just added up to lives that honored God. Not perfect, not without fault, but honoring God in the midst of all the mess. We honor God, right? And you know what? He showed up. He showed up. He delivered us. He sustained us, yes? My friends, honor God in all areas of your life. May this be now the default mode. Don't try and find ways out. Don't respond to messes with another mess that you're creating. Honor him in every area of your life. And when you do so, say, deliver me, deliver me, deliver me. Show me your glory. Show me your glory. I do. God, show me your glory. And you know what? He will show up. God bless you.